Could you describe to me your favorite model for a city on Mars? Since this is one of my favorite parts of the book, was the Martian, projected Martian cities.
I suspect I know why. Cities on Earth. There's two kinds of cities. I call them car cities and foot cities. And they basically differ in that the foot cities grew into substantially their full forms before there were automobiles, and the car cities after there were automobiles. So, for instance, you would take these compact European cities like you have in Italy, for example, and these were all clearly foot cities. In America, we have a few foot cities like Boston, Manhattan, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Seattle are foot cities. That is, in foot cities, people walk around and they travel from store to store and they meet each other on the sidewalk or in public squares in the street. In car cities, people like Los Angeles, people drive around from strip mall to strip mall, okay? And I mean, a famous wit from the New Yorker magazine, Dorothy Parker, who traveled to Los Angeles and she looked at it, she said, there's no there there. Where's the city? There's no city. It's just a gigantic suburb that goes on forever. So Martian cities will be foot cities, absolutely, for a number of reasons. First of all, they're going to be compact. European foot cities were compact because many of them were walled cities. They had to fit inside of walls to be protected from attackers. Mars cities will be inside of domes or other pressurized structures to protect themselves from the hostile outside environment. Now, there are planned cities and unplanned cities. I happen to be a fan of unplanned cities. I find them much more interesting than planned cities. So, yes, I have been to Italy and, places like Bergamo and so forth, or, certain parts of Rome, Naples, and where you have this wild, extremely interesting chaos of, that's my favorite city. And, but, okay, there will be people that will go there and they say, here's our plan. There is the radial pattern of the streets and it's all this and all that. And in the end, how can I put it? The results will decide. I mean, Martian cities will be in de facto competition for immigrants. And what will make Martian cities attractive will be their institutions, their prosperity, and, yes, their architecture. The Martian cities that are successful, that is, the ones that outgrow the rest, will need to be beautiful and interesting. And, it could be that the planned city will be beautiful. It could be that the completely unplanned city of mixed residential and business and factories and everything going on, all helter-skelter mixed with each other, will be the most interesting. It could be something else. I mentioned in the book, I was visited a couple of years ago by this Chinese visionary, and he had this design for a Mars city. And it was a single skyscraper that was like, 300 stories tall. And
it doesn't sound good.
And yes, and there's engineering reasons why this is actually an interesting idea from a strictly engineering point of view. But I just don't see it as a place that people want to live in it. And so I think it would be a failure. I think it'd be stillborn. Now, this, by the way, this issue of competing for immigrants is one reason why I believe the prevailing form of Martian civilization will be free societies. That is, in science fiction, there's a trope of the anti-utopia in space, the totally controlled space colony. And aside from the fact that it makes for a good movie because you can have a revolution against the tyranny and you're off to the races as far as the plot is concerned. But the more theoretical argument as to why an extraterrestrial colony might be a tyranny is because the government could control the air. And so if you break the law or they don't like you, they could turn off your air or something like that. So there's no place to go, okay? Well, that's true in principle, but an extraterrestrial tyranny would not attract any immigrants. So it would be stillborn. So while there could be extraterrestrial tyrannies, they will be outgrown by free societies. America. The predominant problem we had here from a social economic point of view of early America was the labor shortage. This was resolved in two different ways. In the North, it was resolved through gadgeteering, which therefore that society can afford high pay because productivity per person is pay available per person. It's going to want an educated population so that it can continue to innovate this way and have people who can be trusted to manage machinery and so forth as part of the productive process. In the South, it was the other way around. They attempted to deal with the labor shortage through slavery. Okay. So we actually had two social experiments in America, if you will, and they were very different. And how was this settled? Well, it came to blows, but if you ask any American Civil War buff, why did the North win the Civil War? They would say, well, the North had more population and more industry, and that's true. But why did the North have more population and more industry? Because all the immigrants went to the North. The Union Army, the Northern Army, was 40% immigrants and first-generation Americans. Confederates, 3%. And so the more progressive, and I use the term progressive here not in its current political vocabulary, but in the ordinary English usage of the word, society attracted the most immigrants. It's also why the United States attracted a lot more immigrants than Haiti or other tropical slave plantation islands. The more progressive society attracts the talent. And so it outgrows the reactionary societies. So I believe that Martian cities will be free cultures, although they will need to have a high degree of social solidarity because of the nature of the environment. And that is somewhat in tension with individual liberty. But that will have to be resolved. The way the Martian city founding fathers and mothers who can resolve that dichotomy the most successfully, they will create the most successful cities.